Internet, what's up, man? What is your worst bad habit? Random one. Tell you what mine is. See these two remotes? You might be wondering why I'm walking down the stairs of my house. Well, it's because I have a terrible bad habit, and it's putting these in my pocket and then leaving the room with the TV in it and going somewhere else. And then thinking, where have I put it? Where have I put the remote? No shit, I will literally have to think and go back through rooms. I will think, where have I put the remote now? And I don't know what else to say about that, but that is my bad habit. And it might sound facetious, and it might sound like it's not that annoying. But, you know when you lose your keys? It's like that, but worse, because by the time you get to the point of wanting to put telly on, you're probably knackered. Probably had a long day. Probably don't want to go looking for the remote in random places. Well, I suppose if that's the biggest problem I've had today, it's not bad, is it? I mean, it wasn't, but I'm not here to moan about problems today. I'm just here to poke fun at my silly little habit. And I have smoked cigarettes recently, which is definitely worse for me. Do you know what I've noticed as well about smoking cigarette? It's just chemicals, isn't it? I would put good money on the fact, given the fact that they were when they first came out or whatever, when my grandparents were younger, they were all the celebrities of the time, the Hollywood bad boys would, like Marlon Brando back in the day, they would all smoke cigarettes and it was cool and badass. And I would go as far as saying, I don't know about anyone else, but I think quite a lot of people start smoking because they think it looks cool. And if that is true, I'm not the only one that did that, then that's probably filtered down from Hollywood, which makes me think that it might have been on purpose to kill us fuckers off. Because I have a feeling that they've known for ages that there's an overpopulation problem, and they're trying to figure out a way to rectify it. Could be wrong, could just be twats trying to kill us off, but either way, people profit from people dying. And I would suggest that that is, what's the word best to describe it? It's definitely unholy. But that's not the word I'm looking for. That doesn't go all that well in conversationally, does it? Those cigarettes are unholy. Selling cigarettes are unholy. What's the word I'm looking for? Bit cunty, innit? Right, that's not the word I'm looking for. That's really rude. More rude than killing people? I think not. But I don't really know what I'm on about today. What's the point of today's video? To be honest, it was just kind of, I hadn't done one, and that's usually when I've had a better day, isn't it? Because we're just too busy to do content. I think it's just someone doing the bins, mate. Don't worry. So yeah, man. What else happened today? Well, it's just some shit that I don't really want to talk about. But what good things happened today? The sun's very much been shining. I've been doing my football. Oh, that was nice. When I was training earlier, I try and mix up my training. So I've been doing more football. There's a football nets near me on an estate in Fernhead. And that is one cool thing that posh areas don't have, and that's access to public football nets. Because I tried to book them out when I was living in a slightly more affluent area, you might say, and it's quite hard. to find a private football net. I was doing it when I was in Spain. They've got more of that stuff out in outdoor type stuff in Spain. That is one good thing that Spain do really well, actually, as well as public transport, is outdoor stuff. Because obviously it doesn't rain very much. This one wants a cuddle. Biggie, other side. Yeah. It's just Red, that's enough! Red! The fuck? One thing they don't tell you about dog ownership is they go fucking mental when they hear something. I suppose it's a good thing. I've got 2 massive alarms in the house with me. But if you're like chilling or dozing off or just relaxing, or the bad one was when we had the newborn baby, and then that happens, it's not that funny. Having a baby, that's a topic, isn't it? Responsibility. Responsibility maketh the man. How much voluntary responsibility that someone can take on, specifically men in my case being one. So I hear, I think Jordan Peterson talks about that, about the voluntary, if you rise to voluntary responsibility, there is a sort of growth process that comes with it. I spoke to a friend of mine today. I've been trying to reach out to people more because, you know, when you have a shit time, I don't have anyone to call or to call on, which growth process again, I guess. But it would be nice just to be a bit more social. I'm not social at all. It does get lonely, so maybe I might try and call more people. But it's that thing about putting yourself out there. If you've not spoken to someone for years and you put yourself out there and you contact them, it's like, is it a bit weird? But if I do it when I'm in a good mood, which fortunately, thank God today has been one of those days, then a bit more confident to do more outgoing stuff like that. One thing I have been enjoying is so not working a traditional 9 to 5 and sort of setting up businesses and stuff. The flexibility, but I've always found with uni and things like that, going to the library to do the work was almost like a placebo effect of going to the place. So I think that's kind of why people go to like Starbucks or whatever. But it's all, I kind of see, I don't know, I always get a bit of a pretentious vibe of that. You know, like, you always have that visions of like people sat in Starbucks doing, I don't know, drinking their coffee and like doing their emails and like digital design and shit like that. It annoys me how much I swear on these videos because I don't swear in real life, and it really annoys me. I only do it because I'm anxious. I feel anxious when I do these videos because I'm conscious that there's a possibility that it will be watched. And then, I don't know, the human brain's weird. But yeah, so I've been going to Tesco's anyway, which is kind of cool because it's got a cafe, and Tesco cafe food is good. So, and it also takes out the stress of needing to think of what to cook for lunch. And then I can do like an hour and a half work on whatever it is that I'm working on that day. I'm trying to set up a number of projects at the same time. But the thing in life is, it's all about consistency. So I found doing the rugby training that you can do 100%. If you go 100% effort for only 50% of the time, but there's a burnout thing. You can't do 100% forever. You just can't do it. Well, in my case anyway. I'm in my pajamas, by the way. But if I do 100%, like on it, if I do any like intense fast, like I do no solid food for like 2 weeks or whatever it is, if I do that, there's always a bounce back. So I've realised that, especially with the rugby, that 100% it's not possible. And like, even if you have to factor in, I've noticed that you have to factor in, even you have to put relaxing time in your diary, in like the process of what you're getting done, because if you're doing stuff 100% of the time, you just burn out, whether that be athletically, mentally, whatever it is. It's not sustainable. And what I realised with the rugby training thing is, because I was doing 100%, did 100% for, honestly, maybe like a year and a half, but I was like, I built it up over the course of like 3 years, maybe a bit longer. I was like on it, like, I only had one dog at the time, but I was like, I was going to the gym, I was doing kicking practice, I was doing the hot and cold therapies, I was meditating, I was doing yoga, there was like literally no stone unturned, no stone left unturned, and I got better. Like I'm like my skill set wise, like improved dramatically. Passing mainly, I'm off my left hand. Like it's not amazing, but it's not shit anymore. It's like it's passable, pardon the pun. And my right hand's like it's all right. So, and it wasn't beforehand. I couldn't pass for shit. So, and it's the same with left foot training. I've noticed that. Maybe I realize this a little bit too late. Maybe not. I suppose we'll see. I'm saying that because I'm trying to sound humble, and that means that I'm being ingenuine. So let me rephrase that. I know what I've realised is that in life, especially when it comes to sport, the best players are the ones that practice the most. And there isn't really much else to it. So we get into this culture and this system of like, if you haven't made it by 16, then you're done. But in reality, you're done if you've not made it by 18 or 21. And if you've not done it by then, you're not good enough. But the players who were the best players were the ones that practiced the most. So like, just practice more and keep practicing. And I think it's silly to think that, once we get to a certain age, we're over the hill. And I understand it in terms of like the business side of sport and being a commodity and being an asset to a club that they're, a sellable asset. But like, if you're putting up the numbers, the scout might get looked at funny for putting you forward for it if you're a 38-year-old striker or whatever. But if you're the fittest on the team, and don't forget, like, cardio fitness is just doing the cardio. Like, anyone can build a massive engine. So if you work that back, you can still keep practicing. Like, I've been going to the football nets to do my training just because I try and vary the cardio training. And like, I've been practicing my left foot, just, it's active, and I like skill development and I enjoy doing it. It's another way of like, instead of just going for a run sometimes. But I love going for a run, but sometimes you want to mix it up. And it's dawning on me that like, it has for a few months, the best players are the ones that practice the most. And I don't know, I just feel like we're selling ourselves short a bit in society by just assuming, because of age, is like just assuming that it's impossible past a certain age. I don't think nothing's impossible. I think there's a possibility that we've been living in a system like 1984 where like we've had the truth hidden from us, it feels a little bit like. So the law of, what's it called, the law of attraction and manifesting, I think there's something in it. And I think that there may be a possibility that this is just good against bad, and it's not, it's not whites against blacks, against yellows, against reds, against blues, against pinstripe. It's not, all these things that divide us are ideological. They don't actually mean anything. We're all human beings. Like, if we've got a black water bottle, a red water bottle, and a blue water bottle, and you cut them in half, it's got water inside, and that's what humans are like. But we don't think in terms of that. We think in terms of they're different because of what necessarily the culture might say. But the culture is derived from what? What's culture derived from? I might suggest it's the media. So if you take black culture, in inverted commas, black culture, whether that be sort of hip hop music or certain actors or certain types of, I don't know, dancing or whatever it is. It's such a white boy thing to say. Just the dancing, or whatever it is. But where do we get that information? Information might be the wrong word. Where do we get that? The notion of what a culture is, where does it come from? Because I've been playing around with the thought that, does society reflect the media, or does media reflect society? So the other way around is probably easy to understand. So does the media reflect society, or does society reflect the media? And I think it might be the latter. And I think I've grown up my whole life being at least thinking, or on the presumption that music, for example, is probably the best example, is a byproduct of the streets, and that street could be whatever the subculture is where the music's come from. I don't mean actually the streets. I know it says about black music or black culture or whatever, but whatever it is, and the streets is the term of the fundamental thing where it's come from. But like nowadays, because these social structures are so like ingrained, are we at a point where society is just reflecting what's on the TV rather than the other way around? And I think there's a possibility that that is the case. And if that is the case, then who is it that gets to say what goes on the TV and what goes in the media? Who has the sign-off for these things? Whose decision is it that something will air to a certain target audience? So a good example is this adolescence thing I've been hearing about. And I heard quite early on that it was propagandary. And I know that there's been mentions of Andrew Tate in it. And it's all very extreme lefty. And that feels disingenuous. And if you look at any era of anything in society, there are levels of propaganda that happen. I think it would be misguided of us to suggest that we aren't, everyone else is propagandaed, but we're not. I think it's probably misguided to think that the people that have the control of what we see on telly, and by we I mean people in the UK or the States really, or Europe I guess, the West. Who is it that gets to say so of what goes on and what gives them the right? Because really it's just gonna, in a corporate term, it's just something's gonna fall on someone's desk. And someone, a boss of an executive of a company's got to say yes or no. And it's like, okay, but if there is the possibility of bias, if there is the notion that there might be untoward messages for an agenda, so a good example might be COVID vaccines. Now, this is all publicly available information, and I've spoken about this on here before, but if you've got a company that called Pfizer that makes money from the vaccine, you've got news outlets such as the BBC that show images and videos and talk about the deaths and stuff so much, and then encourage the vaccine. And then you've got people like Bill Gates, who owns a big share of Pfizer, who profits from the COVID vaccine being sold, but they also then fund the media stations which then show COVID related pro-vaccine media. I think that would, at the very least, represent a conflict of interest. Now, if you use that as an example, so they put money into that, they then show the adverts for that, and then they make money, and it's kind of like a revolving. And I've been quite thingy about like all the rich people at the top are in bed together. Like it seemed that way for a while. You know, being around businesses and stuff for years. It's always been quite clear to me that what's that song? Money buys everything but love, that's the finest gold. No, that's the beginning bit. The rich get richer while the others just apply for loans. Money doesn't buy everything but love. I'm butchering it, but it seemed, or money goes to money, doesn't it? So it does seem that it might be, it might have been constructed that way in order to protect the status quo of the people that have got the money and make it nigh on impossible for anyone that's not got any to get some. Look at that. Look at those dirty socks. Why are these in the house? First of all, why were they in the garden for so long? Now, why are they in the house? So I don't know, man. I think it would be misguided and a little bit dangerous to suggest that every single thing that we see on the TV is in our best interest. Or no, everything that we see on the TV isn't biased. And then it's like, okay, who gets to sign off? Okay, then because that person that has the sign off, what's their agenda? Who's paying them? So if you're an MTV executive and you've got to sign off on the new Geordie Shore or whatever, who's signing off on that? And what are their allegiances? Like you hear about the Conservatives thing when Boris Johnson was in, is it Richie Sunak gave a huge PPE contract to one of his mates. And like there obviously will be rhetoric about, you know, why that's fine or why it's not fine, but it's just one thing I learned from working in private equity and being around my old man for such a long time is that people work with people they like. And that's like, I know, having seen the policing system as well, and I was definitely naive to this thing of the world is run by big boys clubs. I was really naive to that. I just always assumed, I don't know if it's because I'm a bit autistic or whatever, but I always just assumed that nobility was like, albeit it might be a grandiose, high-minded ideal, that the system wasn't devoid of it. And like, it has become more apparent over time that the world, as it were, seems to be very much run just by big boys clubs of matey boys helping each other out. And then you work it back and it's like, all right, well then, like, you know, how many prime ministers have been to Eton? And then it's like, when was the last time a prime minister didn't go to Eton? Or like, why is there such a high level? And then it's like, okay, so you go to Eton and you're just guaranteed, just because you spend more money, because you're rubbing shoulders with the right circles, you get ahead in life. And it's like, okay, well, let's send someone from the estate in Fernhead to Eton. Or you can't do that. Well, firstly, they can't afford it. Secondly, they probably wouldn't be allowed in, even if they could afford it. It's like closed off, isn't it? So there's not equality of opportunity, which I think is the biggest travesty. Like if everyone had like, I think it might be misguided to suggest that everyone has to have absolutely the exact same level of opportunity, because we do live in a capitalist structure, and there are going to be people that work their way up through hard work. Like my old man's from My mum's from a working class background. My granddad was in the army. Like, he's not come from money, and he's self-made. So there are going to be people that are self-made that have just bettered themselves, and then they're able. For example, I went to a private. Oh well, I went to a few different schools, but I went to one private school, but that's because my dad worked hard and was able to send me there. But there are people that haven't been afforded that opportunity. So it's like, okay, so if we at least have the bottom rung of the ladder is better, it's like not shit, basically. Because in poorer areas, the schools are poorer, the teachers aren't as good, it's less desirable areas, people don't want to go there, people don't want to work there, and it all kind of filters down. If we can raise, I've spoken about this before, if we can raise the bottom bar to a level where normal people, working class and middle class people, have the opportunity to get out of that rung up the ladder. It's almost like there's a ladder, and there's 10 spots, but there's the first spot, and then there's like 4 empty spots, and then there's like 6 really close together. I've not done my maths right now, have I? But you know what I'm trying to say? There's 1, and then 4 missed, and then there's like 9 closer together, but you can't get up to that. It's hard to get from the first rung up into the second rung because there's a bigger gap. Thank you God for that idea. That's quite a nice analogy, actually. Yeah, it's like a ladder with 10 rungs on it, but the first rung and the second rung are very close together, and then there's a huge gap until the third one, and then the rest are all quite close together. It's quite a good analogy. So it's about closing that gap with the missing rungs, or at the very least pushing up the level. That's a better one. Pushing up the bottom 2 or the bottom 1, so it makes it close to the rest of the rungs. And at least then, because we'll lose the bit at the bottom, which would be sort of poverty, food banks, marginalised people, the marginalised groups. If we can raise and the governments aren't going to do it, because frankly, I think that they do it I think it's on purpose, really. So then it's like, okay, so who is it? Well, then we need community leaders. We need philanthropic community business leaders to come together and invest back into their communities. That feels like it's the only realistic way of it happening. But like, if you are a business leader, if you are, especially self-made ones, from, I don't know, Northwest specifically, because that's where I'm from, I suppose the thing is, no one helped me on the way up. So that's kind of why I wouldn't put back in, and I want to drive around in a fancy Lambo or whatever it is. But actually that fancy Lambo doesn't make you any happier. It just might boost your social status, which you think makes you happier because you get attention and dopamine hits from it. But actually there's a complete lack of meaning. It's devoid of meaning. Unless, of course, like, it was your dream growing up to drive a Lamborghini. But like, I don't think every single footballer that drives around in a Lamborghini with matching number plates and all that stuff, I don't know if that was their goal. And I did actually have an idea of the top percentage of footballers, especially ones in the Northwest, because the Northwest is like a hub for football, and the biggest hub for football in the world. But if those top percentage of footballers, even just like take the Premier League, for example, if they all donated 1% of their salaries into, if you looked at the Northwest, right, and you look at places like Fleetwood, and then you compare it to Formby, or you look at places like Alderley Edge and you compare it to like Orford or whatever. Orford's not as bad anymore, but the affluent areas, less affluent areas, there's a disparity, isn't there? And it's not about taxing the rich, even though that's what a lot of traditional Labour supporters would suggest. because then it falls back into the hands of the government, and the government don't necessarily have our best interests at heart, no matter where you put your political or class allegiances. What I think it takes is for the business leaders to be like, look, this isn't going well. The situation that we find our societies in is dwindling dramatically for whatever reason, and the governments aren't doing enough to help the people. So the people that are loaded, I think it's important they're encouraged to engage in more philanthropic structures, groups, something. There's got to be something there where like we can give back. But then it is going to be the thing of no one helped me get to this point, so why should I help anyone else? But then the wheel just keeps going, and it takes someone or a group of people to just be like, well, yeah, no one helped. For example, no one helped my dad on the way up, but just because no one helped you doesn't mean that you can't then help someone else. And then I don't know, man. We think we're separate. It's just a bit mad. We're actually all connected. It's the snow globe analogy of the universe. We're all actually connected. But yet we live and breathe in terms of being individual, but we're not. It may seem like we are, but we're actually all very much connected. So, considering I started the video talking about losing the TV remote, firstly, I haven't put the TV on, and secondly, it's been half an hour and it got deep. It got real deep. And you may say, bro, it's not that deep. It is even deeper. I'm just giving you what you can. I just look mental. I am literally only giving you the scratch of the iceberg, if that's a phrase, which it isn't. The tip of the iceberg, the little squidgy squidge on top, goes well deeper. We ain't got a fucking clue, son. You have to zoom out, look at it objectively, think for yourself, yeah? Don't believe everything they tell you, because you can't believe everything you see on the TV. Alright? You got to think for yourself, zoom out. Don't believe everything. There used to be a phrase, eh? Don't believe everything you read in the fucking newspaper. But as soon as they put it on the fucking telly, it's gospel. Danny Dyer would tell you like that. It's a good point, isn't it? No, let me rephrase that. I'm pleased with that point. I'm pleased with the point. I live from Italy and I do the Nacarella, Very tasty, very tasty. In Italy, they just go. I don't know what the point is. Should I do a Marlon Brando impression? What is it? You come to my house on the day of my daughter. Well, now you can tell I smoked a cigarette. You come to my house on the day of my daughter's wedding and you ask me to kill someone for you. But you won't even pay until you're... I'm tired now. I should trim these videos. I get too tired. This is too long. I'm reverting back. I'm capping it. I'm putting a cap on this ass. I'm capping these videos at like 14 minutes. I think that's the sweet spot. And it's not 14, it's 33 minutes. 33 minutes of my time I've spent talking on my own to a camera. And I've had a good day today, so I've got nothing to whinge about. Might watch myself on YouTube now. I'm joking. I sometimes do that. I do it to someone mentioned that it might be a good idea to Trump spoke at the Saudi Arabia Investment Forum. That's interesting because Saudi have got all the oil. They probably want to be matey boys. But it's all money. It's all money. It's all fucking money. The true story of Purple Aki. I don't know what to say to my YouTube algorithm right now. And now we've got Kanye West's new album being banned. Isn't it called Heil Hitler? Hey, this world. I've never even considered. Imagine the amount of people that have considered if Kanye West is actually right. What a wild thing to suggest. I don't think Jews are bad people. I think if there are a globalist elite and they happen to be Jewish, I don't think that necessarily. I think that's wrong. I think even if there is a globalist elite and they own everything and they're twats and they're Jewish, that doesn't mean that Jewish people are bad. That means that bad people are bad, and the devil is bad. And I think that's what I was trying to get at earlier about this being good against bad. I think that's a really good example. I'm blowing smoke up my own arse bit today, but there seems to be that there's a globalist elite that are controlling everything and losing control because they haven't got access to natural resources, which is why they invaded Iraq and Afghanistan. They're trying to get oil. And it seems to me that the people that own the West before the Trump administration, the people with the money behind that got in, there was a group of not very nice people that are sort of a globalist elite that happen to be Jewish. And I really don't agree with demonizing Jews. It's demonize bad people. Doesn't matter what colour or creed they are. It just goes back to this groups of people running the world. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's when you get people hating you. I did once. This is going to sound quite bad, and it hurt my feelings. I was in a queue for, and this might be really presumptive of me, and and discriminatory and bigoted, but I was in a queue for a plane, and I was late, and there was a girl and a guy in front of me, and it was a young girl, like 20s or whatever, and there was a Hasidic Jew in front of her, and I said to them both, I was like, "Oh, excuse me, I'm running really late. Do you mind if I jump in front of you in the queue?" All right, and they go, "Oh yeah, no problem." And I was like, "Oh, thanks so much." And I said to the Hasidic Jew, and I said, "Excuse me, I'm really late for my flight. Do you mind if I jump in front of you in the queue?" And his answer wasn't yes. It was, "Oh, what time's your flight?" And I said, "Oh, it's in like 45 minutes, or like an hour and 20 minutes, or whatever." I said, "Oh, it's at 6 o'clock." And he went, "Oh, mine's at 5:45. And I went, and my initial reaction was, "Oh, bloody hell, you're much calmer than I am in a rush." And then, I just stayed behind him, got in the queue, didn't say anything, and packed my bags or whatever it is. And then it dawned on me afterwards that there was quite a large possibility that he had answered my question with a question so that he could basically say his flight was sooner so that I didn't go in front of him in the queue. And I'm really big on not trying to stereotype negatively. And it really hurt my feelings, I'm not gonna lie. I was gutted after he did that. Because I was like, please don't show me that. Because it felt like sneaky, and you hear this horrible stereotype of those people being sneaky and stuff, and I was like, it bothered me. Because then I was like, are they all like that? Is that where it comes from? Is there no smoke without fire? And then I thought about it quite a lot, and I was like, maybe he was just dishonest, and it wasn't. I think it was just maybe because they had the Hasidic dress and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it really didn't sit well with me. I really didn't sit well with me. And that's, I was like, well, are all those Hasidic Jews like that? That's how they operate, and that's where these things come from, this stereotype. There's no smoke without fire, like I said. And then I thought about it for a while, and I was like, well, actually, no, it's not. It's not the group that does it. And comes into the ideological labels that separate and divide us. That's actually not what it is. It's actually good against bad. It's God against the devil. It's the Darth Vader against Skywalker or whatever. Harry Potter against Voldemort. And that's where Kanye West and inciting anti-Semitism is dangerous, because even if there are a group of people that act nastily, even if you see a group of men in red tracksuits and they're all beating people up, the next time you see a man in a red tracksuit, you're going to be worried, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that everyone that wears a red tracksuit is going to beat you up. And actually, the reason why they're beating someone up is because they're not sticking to the Ten Commandments. They're not being nice people. They're not being good people. If you work that back, that's where it's good against bad, isn't it? It's not the group of people. It's not the creed. It's not the. It's the moral compass. Which side of the moral compass it falls on. If there's a line of neutral and there's morally good and morally bad, everyone's got a moral compass. You know when you're deviating from it, and that's when you create good or bad karma, or bad specifically. But if you step over into the bad one, it doesn't matter what colour you are, you're acting immorally. So it's like, okay, so it's the fight against immoral, and that then if you work that back, that's the fight against good against bad, which is basically God against the devil. So it doesn't matter who did it. It's the fact that person acted immorally, and it's the act of immoralize. I don't know if there's a word for that. Immoralization. I was going to say, but told you it gets deeper. So there are some fucked up people in the world. And there definitely are fucked up people that run the music industry. Oh, good God. I'm swearing so much. Oh, goodness gracious me. I have really been noticing the subliminal messaging within music recently. I've been listening to loads of old CDs of mine. It's quite heavy. Avril Lavigne, the album, so it's a teenage girl aimed at teenage girls. The album is called Let Go. It's all about skater boys and letting go of virginity, or Wheatus, Teenage Dirtbag. It's aimed at teenagers. I was 11 when I got that album, and it's talking about sucking off, the first line of the album. The music industry is clearly, I was zoned out of it all now for a few years, but what's that Lil Nas, they'll dress like a devil, dressed like a gay devil or something. Do whatever the fuck you want with your partner or whatever, but that doesn't mean that we have to send these messages out to young people. And I think it's corrupting them. And then it's like, all right, well, why? Why is it corrupting them? And it's like, okay, well, we're having these messages of sex all the time. Well, why is that? Is it because it's satanic? These conspiracy theories about it being run by Satanists? Or is it just run by a load of people that know that there's an overpopulation problem and are trying to get us to have less babies and shag around more instead? Maybe. Is there a possibility that through the media and celebrity culture and social media, we're all having you don't see that many young mums anymore, really, and teen mum is demonized. Obviously, I'm not encouraging teen mums, but what I'm saying is we live in a heightened and increasingly narcissistic society where the individual is of importance and child care and the gift of life isn't celebrated in the way that it should be. So why do we all think we're so important? Why do we have families later? Why are women encouraged to stay away from the traditional roles of motherhood and familyhood and being like housing. Like, I'd be quite happy to be a stay-at-home dad. Or I'd rather do sort of part time. I'd rather us both be part time. You know, we both have projects that we do, and we both take care of the house and the baby and whatever. I don't see why it wouldn't be encouraged for a woman to take care of their child. I don't know why that would be something that wouldn't be celebrated rather than sort of encouraged not to do it. And when you've been a woman, and historically, the patriarchy, and it's been, the women have been marginalised, they've not been allowed to do things. But maybe that was better. And I don't mean that's not supposed to be a misogynistic comment. That's coming from a place of, I think the only important thing is taking care of our children, because hurt kids turned into hurt adults, and hurt people. So if you work it back, it's like, all right, we'll take better care of our kids, and we'll work that back. It's like, all right, we'll go to therapy, break intergenerational trauma, and spend more time with your children, and do the raising of your children yourself. All right, well, why are we not doing that? Well, schools take over. All right, well, who set up schools? Well, the Rockefellers set up schools, and the Rockefellers are possibly one of the families that own the West, or had owned most of the West. I don't know, I think we've been indoctrinated into a system that is outdated, is unhealthy, is very easily manipulatable. Whatever the current trend is that gets pushed in the, let's talk about the adolescence thing. I've not watched it, I'm not going to watch it, but that kind of ethos of like, with the trans thing. I think in my whole life I've seen 2 trans people, maybe 3, but that's all that I hear on YouTube and the news and stuff. Transphobic, pride, that. I know, well, a couple of my family members are gay guys. My sister's best friend is a gay guy. There was another lad at my school, but like, I know there's obviously more now, but is that not a reflection of the media through a society after the media? Or are there just more gay people now? And if there is more gay people, well, I don't care where you put your thingy-ling, your ding-a-ling. It's not, I don't give a shit. There's an old gay couple that live across the road from me. Number 3. I don't care. It's not even that I don't care, it's just not even a consideration. It's just, that's them and their life, and I'm going to leave them to, like, why would I not? Why would it bother me? Well, there's 2 more gay people that I know. But like, this pride thing and trans thing, I can count on my hands the amount of people that I know. So why is it then such a huge deal on the telly? Maybe it's an agenda. Maybe they're trying to stop us having kids. Excuse me. Maybe that's what it is. Overpopulation. They're trying to stop us having kids. They're running out of money. That's probably what 9/11 and Iraq was. Pillaging the oil to keep the machine going, and I think the machine's fallen. I think the families that owned it have fucked up. I think they pushed the luck. I think they tried to manipulate us all through CIA and intelligence and the media, and I think that people are realising, I think there's an awakened consciousness that isn't the way that things are, and that isn't the way things it should be. And the one thing that made me really notice it was the difference between pride and proud. The pride flag. If you're flying a flag for pride and it's linked to homosexuality, but pride is a sin, and pride gets causes big, big, big problems. I'm not talking about homosexuality causes problems. I'm talking about actual pride. Bigoted, egotistical, stubborn pride. Like, pride's a sin for a reason. Being proud, they should call it proud. And that would be amazing. I would really 100% encourage the name pride to be changed to proud. And I think it would be far more suitable, far more helpful. And I think it would create far less divide. I think that other people that aren't necessarily in that community would be able to get behind it more because it would be less divisive. Everyone can do whatever they want. And you're proud of who you are, and I'm proud of who I am, and you do what you do, and I do what I do. That doesn't mean that I want to put my dingling where you want to put yours, but c'est la vie. Who am I to say where you can put your dingling? It's true though, isn't it? But if you zoom out, I've been zoomed out of this shit for so long now. I've spoken about this before, about all the 9/11 videos, and there was a channel called Zeitgeist on YouTube, and I've seen it all be censored in real time. I've watched videos been taken down that people are talking about now, about the controlled noises of the controlled explosions, which were all over YouTube years ago, and none of them are there now. It's not a coincidence. So I've been zoomed out on. I've sort of had my eyes open for a while on this stuff. And the first one out of the trenches always gets popped. I've been demonized, especially by my family, for being conspiracy theorists and stuff. But JFK or the COVID vaccine, the White House literally released a report about the lies that they told about COVID. So it's very scary when you first get into it to think that the system might be purposely made to detach, marginalize, I don't want to say hurt, but celebrity culture, there's so much stuff that we pick up from the media that life would be better if it wasn't picked up from the media. Like the example, proud or pride. Like even it might seem like something tiny, but it's monumentally big. So I think there's lots of stuff like that. Like way, way, way loads. I don't think we have, as a society, have a bloody clue at all. Politics is probably a show. Although I think there is a possibility that in the right instance, politics can make a big difference. But at the same time, they all lie. Politicians all just talk stop swearing. Talk rubbish and lie to get into power. Which is why I think Trump's I don't agree with everything that he says, don't agree with anything anyone says. But what I do believe in and do think is very much the way forward is that astute business leaders should be the ones that run the countries, not politicians. Again, going back to what I was saying before about politicians are just someone that's been born into a certain community of money, that's been around people that have got money. Then that means that they're in an echelon, what's the word? Higher echelon. Echelon, is that the word? Like the highest society, which then by proxy means that they get these opportunities. When was the last time we had a leader from working class that was the Prime Minister? Wouldn't that be something that everyone could get behind? Like a self-made working class guy or girl that's worked really hard and built themselves up. Keir Starmer just couldn't get into the Conservatives, I think. He's posh as out, isn't he? But imagine a self-made working class, anyone could get behind that. That'd be pretty cool. But it won't happen because they're not in the right circles, and the high class look down on stuff like that. I know that because I've been a part of it. I've been looked down on by people I went to school with. and the parents, specifically the people I went to school with. Because I said about it on before, I was the posh kid in Warrington, and then I was the chav in Cheshire. So yeah, I've sort of seen the inner workings of that kind of that what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I was tired half an hour ago and I'm still talking. Yeah, I could really get behind a savvy, honest, self-made, working class community leader that has the best interests of the community at heart and a track record of doing it. I could very much get behind that. And then I'd actually have faith in the system that would make me want to vote. Because there's so many... What was it? The amount of people that didn't vote, I can't remember what the number was. It's something ridiculous. It's like more than what all of them got together or something stupid. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that, no one, because I'm talking to myself on the camera next to my dog who's snoring. Salam alaikum. What's the other phrase I like? Inshallah. That's a cool phrase. I've been trying to pick up a little bit of the Arabic. I think we are integrating, and I think Arabia is the future. I think they've got a lot of oil money, and I think eventually, like it or not, we'll be their bitch anyway. Stop swearing. So, I think in the UK especially, I'm being facetious there, but I think in the UK, you know, I've seen the Irish are like fighting back, which is quite scary. There's an actual threat of civil war. I think actually the best way through these difficult and challenging, rather political, you know, sort of societal climates is integration culturally. There isn't all that much culture in England outside of the lardy-tardy, you know, sort of high-end stuff, and that's, you know, it is what it is. Although, what did I think of the other day that I absolutely buzz off about? Full English. But again, it's like, I don't think there is actually all that much culture in England, if I'm being completely frank. And I think that, but I also massively disagree with generations of immigrants taking over in that sort of sense of like generation after generation. I saw a school trip at the Trafford Centre dyno golf thing, and there was about maybe like 100 kids, maybe slightly less, maybe like 70 kids, and there was one white kid. Now I've got, you know, I don't care what colour skin you are, but as an example of the traditionally white British is going to end up becoming a minority, that's not all right, is it? But it's so now ingrained in generations of immigrants that I think we're going to have to get to a point where we're like, look, England has changed, the UK has changed, but you need to be more respectful, as do we. And I say that we and you as the two sort of colliding groups as immigrants and non-immigrants. Because I've got so one of the reasons I've been trying to talk to the guys at the car washes, the Kurds, about you know trying to learn a bit of Arabic and that, and bad people are bad people. Is as long as they're coming over here and being respectful, and there's a coming together and a new Britain. That's quite a cool idea, isn't it? A new Britain. The old Britain, what was it? Raping and pillaging other countries, the toffs in Eton, that kind of vibe, the high society, or the industrial north. But like, those times are gone. We can't trust the high society as a general rule. They don't give anything back to the real people, which is the majority of people. it's like if you have a practicing Muslim, they're brilliant. There's nothing wrong with a practicing Muslim. The difference is someone from a Muslim country that's non-practicing, they don't have the same attachment to certain things that we in the West look down upon, such as stealing. It's something that I've noticed with Moroccans stealing a lot in Spain. Because it's part of the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not steal, and that filters through traditionally Christian countries. So we don't, obviously you do get it, but it's really looked down upon, whereas it isn't. There's a cultural difference. So non-practicing Muslims in a traditionally Christian society is going to cause issues because they're not culturally aligned with our values. But practicing, people of faith are people of faith. They are, and there's a huge difference between organized religion and faith. But it doesn't matter what religion you choose, it's just a different language for the same thing. But we believe that that makes you different. It's just, they're from a different part of the world. They do the same thing differently. If I was speaking, si era hablando en español ahora, I'm still talking. If I was speaking in Spanish, I'm still talking. But it's just a different way of talking. But I'm still using words. So I think that we need to get our heads around the fact that the old Britain's gone and it wasn't actually that good. And even if it was, because that's subjective, it's not. It's gone. There's years and years and years and generations of immigrants, and Britain has changed. And I don't necessarily think that, even if it is a bad thing or a good thing, it is what it is. Whatever you think subjectively of the state of England now, it is what it is, and it isn't changing. Yeah, we should definitely, the illegal immigrants should be fucked off completely. I don't know. I mean, illegal immigrants is a no-no. But my wife was a refugee. I know it's not easy. But if they're going to come over here and they're going to add value, and we're going to integrate together, and we're going to create a new Britain that celebrates diversity, but also celebrates traditional values that we can all sort of agree on. Maybe there's a scope for that. Maybe I think we just have to all come together, no matter what colour or creed, and we just have to set our own base level of rules and just be like, look, we all need to operate from respect and honesty and the right moral values, and an understanding that times have changed, and by the traditional English people holding on to this thing, like, and the Irish like fighting back. I don't know if that's the right thing. I don't know if fighting back is the right thing. Because then it's good against bad. It's not black against white. It's not green against blue. It's good against bad. And that doesn't matter what colour your skin is, or how you worship the higher power. And I think if we can all get to a point where just because you do something differently doesn't mean you're any better or worse, as long as we have some widely agreed upon frameworks that create harmony. If everyone's priority was harmony, we can work back from that and we can make it work. But if we still live in an individualistic society, and I'm sorry, but girls, you need to cover up a bit more. Like, porn can't be doing that. That's just like, yeah, it's not. Nope. Young girls shouldn't be exploited like that. And young men need to learn how to communicate so that they can just get a girl. Which starts by working on yourselves. Yeah, I think there's a new Britain. Well, there is. There's a new world. There's a new Britain. And I don't think that Reform are going to get in, I imagine. And to be honest, the Labour government, from what I've seen, has just been a complete shambles. And it's all lying. What they call it, two-tier policing. And like, I've seen the inner workings of the police. It's not good. the whole system needs reform. It does. But I don't think it's through Nigel Farage. I think that it's just three shitty options. Swore again. I think it's just three shitty options, and I think someone else has got to do more about it. And I think it should come from within. I think we should celebrate self-made people. I think we should celebrate community and harmony. I think we should have business community leaders come together, and royal we, come together and we sort out our communities. We don't rely on these people that don't have our best interests at heart to do the work for us. We go and do it ourselves because it's the collective, it's harmony, it's the community, it's where you're from, it's where you live. Warrington, the northwest, but even wider than Warrington, it's the northwest. But the times have changed, and there are people that take the piss on all different sides, and it's the taking the piss people that are the problem. But we need to have some sort of mediation. We need to have some sort of what's the word? Middle ground where we're all happy, I think. And how do you get that? I don't know. Probably just through the things I've listed. We need more philanthropy, I think. But then, yeah, we need to lift the bottom rungs of the ladder higher, but we also need to detach from this materialism bullshit and the have-not thing, because all the shit that people waste money on, it doesn't make you happy. And I know because I've done it. Admittedly, I didn't drive around in a Lamborghini, but my dad's got a pretty fancy Jag, and I drive around in that, and it's just like, yeah, it doesn't make you happy. Also, it attracts the wrong kind of people. And that's where I realised, because I got stung, because I attracted, my background attracted the wrong type of people who basically wanted to take money off me. Wanted to take my father's money off me. And then that attracts disingenuous people. But it doesn't matter, it wouldn't matter what colour they were. It's the disingenuous, which then is the wrong side of the moral compass they fall on. And that's what we need to beat. And the way that I think that you beat that is through faith practice. I think organised religion and faith are two very, very different things. And I think I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for a spiritual revolution rather than an actual revolution and civil war. But I think we just got to all be more respectful of each other and realise that it's good against bad, not green against red. Now I really am tired, because that was really deep, and it's like over an hour. And I don't think anyone will ever watch all of that. But I'm hoping that when I finally start making some pretty obscene moves with my life, obscene in the traditional sense that unprecedented, using the law of attraction, faith, the Ten Commandments, and just doing the very best to be a good person, trying to build a good karma bank, that eventually this stuff will all be more widely, what's the word, digested by a wider audience, and then hopefully some of this waffle that I espouse might do some good, which there's no such thing as a selfish act. I would feel very pleased about that, because my son and his children would have a better life, and that makes me feel more relaxed, so I get that it's helping me. But when your goals are mutually aligned with the benefit of others, the universe seems to open doors. At the moment, I'm in the process of closing the doors before the other ones open. But right, I'm now hungry, I'm now tired, and I probably don't have time to watch the rest of the wrestling video that I was watching last night. I want to see Rikishi get chokeslammed off the top of the Hell in the Cell tonight. So, goodbye, internet. Don't do the wink.